explained when Aristotle lived, referred to Aristotle as Mr. Aristotle in one of the papers. Why not, right? The other person is Toner, Jules Toner. And he develops the notion of love, care. And Toner says that what is care? Care is the way we practice love. So it's the way we implement love. Now when you hear that, you may have never heard that expression before, but it really is quite normal to hear that, and you understand that fully. He also calls it the implemental aspect of love, how love is implemented, and that's care. But then he goes on to say, what is care? Perhaps in a more direct way. Care is attending to another person in that person's true needs. Attending to other people in their true needs. Now, very often we say we're interested in ending hunger. Jules Toner would say, you can say that, but what you're really interested in is what? Ending hunger for people, right? So we use that as an abbreviation, but he always wants to emphasize attending to another person in that person's true needs. Aristotle, Mr. Aristotle, talks about philia as friendship love. And friendship love is, the way I understand him saying it, is mutual nourishment. Mutual nourishment. Because Aristotle says that a friend is another myself. Do you know that with some of your friends? And that could be your spouse, that could be one of your children, that could be one of your college friends. It's another myself. Aristotle says a friend is two beings in one soul. Now notice where he's going with this. A friend is someone to be nourished and someone that nourishes you. And now we're into philia as a relationship. It involves not just a gift in one direction, it's mutually nourishing. And so as we want to be careful, meet the true needs, not our needs for helping somebody else, but the true needs of that person, we want to provide true nourishment to that person in need. We also want to recognize that we are to be growing in our moral biography, growing in our effectiveness and significance. And the tendency is that the flow of nourishment toward the recipient is often material in order to accomplish both a material and a spiritual end. But the return of experience is almost always intrinsic, emotional, not material. As a result, this model can be looked at to explain every one of your personal relationships in life. Because Aristotle says that this experience of philia begins with parent and child. Do you have a child? Yes? Maybe. I know a Jesuit friend who said before you're 35 you have to do 2 of 3 things. Write a book, plant a tree, or have a baby. He said he wrote a book and he did one of the other 2. Children, does your child nourish you as much as you nourish that child?
Yeah. I guess you are. That's my wife.
How about you? You got an answer that'll help me more? Yes, right? Yes. If your child, yes, if your child fell into a river, what would you do? Not you, you don't care. How selfish of you. Saving your own kid? Not at all. Now, when you save that kid, whom are you saving? What?
Him and me.
Yes, exactly. You're saving yourself and the child because you are friends. You are 2 souls in one being. Your child is another yourself, right? Now we're at the essence of daily life. Wherever and whenever you carry out mutual nourishment with another person that is not necessarily in formal philanthropy, when you are at your job and doing it well, when you are taking care of your family, notice how often in your mind you take care of your family, you do your job well, and then you live with guilt because you say, I ought to get out there and do my philanthropy. Is that right for some of you? I thought Jews had guilt. But instead of saying, I have to leave family work, get that done, my business work, and then finally I can do something good, is a trap. You are already doing philia. If any of you have a mother or mother-in-law living with you who needs help, does that happen to any of you? And if it has, and you spend your time taking care of that woman or your father-in-law or father, nursing, caring, feeding, if you're doing that and somebody comes to your door, hello comes to your door, says, I'm doing a survey on philanthropy, and they ask you, how many hours have you spent on philanthropy? What are you going to say? None. But then I come to your door and I say, how many hours have you spent on philia? 50 hours a week. If you have a Down syndrome child in the family, and you're spending your money to help your brother or sister's Down syndrome child, and then I come to your door and say, how much giving do? You say, none. How much volunteering? None. But how much philia? Lots. So you see, this is the daily life that gives meaning to formal philanthropy. If it isn't philia at its roots, you should have seen how I helped on the airplane in which I came. Go to the pilot. This philia is the foundation And if you do not know philia when you are doing philanthropy, you are just a clanging cymbal. Now, the fact of the matter is, if you examine your lives, this turns out to be not a judgment of you. Instead of saying to you, you're not doing philia and you better get on it, this is an invitation to recognize how glorious, how caring, how generous, how nourishing you already are. And don't dismiss it. For that is what is the judge of. It is the permission to do formal philanthropy. If you have these other obligations of philia, do not regret that you're not doing formal philanthropy. You're doing something that is more valuable in your vocation. Now do you see why I say formal philanthropy is not the best thing you can do with your time and money? Do you all see that? And how there's something much more profound when you are carrying out formal philanthropy? And when you take care of your donors or your beneficiaries, if you can bring them to understand the glorious contribution of their daily care, then you end up with integrated lives. You don't end up with people after work saying, I better go do something good. You're already there. And so let me end